You ever left a conversation, a gathering, or even just a room with a weight in your chest, as if you had abandoned a part of yourself behind? You stayed silent when you should have spoken. You nodded in agreement while every fiber within you longed to refuse, not because you didn't know what was right, but because you feared being judged, feared being called difficult, too sensitive, or stubborn. We grow up in a world that praises being agreeable more than being upright. We learn how to blend in, but forget how to stand tall. And with each moment like this, we trade away self-respect in exchange for approval from people who may not truly care for us. Stoic philosophy does not teach us to be cold or distant. It reminds us of one simple, powerful truth. Dignity is not given by anyone, nor can it be taken away. When you begin to live as if your worth needs no one's permission, you discover this. Silence itself can become a declaration. And now, we step into that journey together. 1. Don't trade yourself for approval. There is a painful truth few dare to admit. Much of what we do each day, how we speak, what we wear, even how we react in relationships, does not arise from who we truly are, but from a quieter need to be accepted, to be liked, to be seen as pleasant, reasonable, easy to get along with, not difficult. We learn to read the room before daring to speak our mind. We choose to smile even when hurt. We say, "It's fine," to keep the peace, even as every cell in us cries out against injustice. Over time, we fail to see that every nod when we should have refused, every polite laugh when our heart was breaking, is a small cut into our own dignity. We do not act this way out of ignorance. We act this way out of fear. Fear of being called selfish for setting boundaries. Fear of being called difficult for speaking up. Fear of being cast out for not following the crowd. But Stoicism reminds us of this. Such fear does not come from the outside world. It comes from being severed from our inner values. One who knows who they are does not need approval to feel worthy. But the one who lives by the gaze of others must constantly adjust, wearing masks, changing with every room, every crowd, every glance. The greatest danger is this. Live that way long enough, and you will no longer know the face beneath the mask. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are ever tempted to look for approval, you have compromised your own authority. The moment you seek approval, you surrender your command over yourself. And the tragedy is this: you will never have enough approval, for the world does not stop to judge you fairly. It shifts with fashion, emotion, and prejudice. Each person sees you through a different lens, and if you try to please them all, you will soon lose your soul. I once knew a woman praised as kind, sweet, beloved by everyone. She was always ready to help, always gentle, always agreeing to every invitation, though weary inside. But each night, in the quiet of her room, she broke down in tears, drained to the core. No one noticed, for she never let anyone see how she truly felt. No one mistreated her, but no one truly knew her either, because she had become a version that pleased everyone but herself. Perhaps you too have been there, saying yes when you long to say no, smiling while hollow inside, changing the way you acted, spoke, even carried yourself just to win someone's favor. And in the end, what you received was not true connection but conditional approval, fragile as soap bubbles. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And the approval of others is one of those things. For it does not depend on your sincerity, but on the moods, wounds, expectations, and distortions of others. Approval is not wrong. But if you must trade yourself to gain it, then what you receive is no longer recognition, but a sweet form of slavery. In Stoic philosophy, what is most precious is neither fame nor popularity. It is inner freedom, the freedom to live by reason, virtue, and principle, whether or not anyone sees, whether or not anyone agrees. Imagine this. Tomorrow, no one praises you. No one texts, "You're amazing." No one taps a heart on your posts. No one smiles when you walk in the room. Could you still lift your head, still feel enough, still live as you have lived? If the answer is yes, you are walking on your own feet. If the answer is no, then perhaps it is time to return and ask yourself, who am I living for? There is a kind of strength that needs no applause, no spotlight, no praise. It is the strength of living true and accepting the price of being unpleasant. For they know the real danger is not being disliked, but losing yourself in order to be liked. When you begin setting boundaries, some will be displeased. When you say no, some will withdraw. When you live honestly, some will call you difficult. But do not let this make you doubt your worth. Another's discomfort is not the measure of right and wrong. It is only the reaction of someone who can no longer control you. A mature person does not strive to be loved by everyone. They live so that each night, when they rest their head on the pillow of conscience, they can close their eyes without self-justification. Begin with the small things. Do not laugh when you do not wish to. Do not say yes when you know it is no. Do not stay silent when that silence strangles your dignity. Courage is not always shouting in the crowd. Sometimes it is simply holding to the truth, even if you are the only one who believes it. And when you begin walking this path, you will find approval matters far less than it once did, because you have found something more precious, yourself. 2. A gaze does not define you. Not everyone who looks at you truly sees you. And not every look deserves your concern. Some gazes are not observation, but the reflection of old, dusty prejudices. Some are not born of honest curiosity, but of hasty, shallow, sometimes cruel judgment. Yet we let these gazes shape how we feel about ourselves. We enter a room, unsettled because someone looked without a smile. We change how we speak, how we walk, just to avoid making others uncomfortable. Worse, we begin to doubt ourselves, all because a cold glance lingers in memory, like a small scratch, yet enough to make self-respect bleed. We do this not from weakness, but from early conditioning to believe that the eyes of others hold power, that a cold glance can reduce our worth, that a whispered comment can strip away our credibility, that another's weary expression can diminish our inner value. But pause and ask this. When someone looks at you with disapproval, what does it truly say about you, or does it say more about them? Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." We do not suffer from the glance itself, but from the story we attach to it. They must think I am foolish. They must find me annoying. I must not be good enough. No one has spoken these words. But our restless mind, insecure and fragile when unguarded, creates the verdict, then believes it more than truth itself. Once I walked into a meeting and sat quietly at the far end. A stranger looked at me, then quickly turned away. No smile, no nod. Through the first half of the meeting, I could not focus. I wondered, was something wrong with my appearance? Did my outfit offend? Only near the end did the person speak, saying, "I've been stressed about a personal matter," hardly noticing anyone, but I found your comments calm and impressive. I had wasted nearly an hour in self-judgment over a cold glance that, in the end, had nothing to do with me. From then on, I reminded myself daily, another's gaze is their story, not my measure. Perhaps they are tired, perhaps anxious, perhaps envious. Perhaps they are only lost in their own thoughts, and their eyes brushed past me like a passing wind. But I must not let that wind freeze my heart. Stoicism does not teach us to be stone toward people. It teaches us to understand them so we are not pulled by them. A Stoic does not live to become cold, but to become steady. Not to ignore the eyes of others, but to discern which gazes are smoke and which light truly comes from wisdom. This world will not stop looking at you with kindness or prejudice, admiration or scorn. But the greater question is, how are you looking at yourself? A single glance can shake you if you have no anchor within. But if your self-respect rests not on appearance, reputation or status, but on how you live, how you think, how you treat yourself, then no gaze can touch that core. When Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth," he was not scorning people, but stressing this. Only the truth within you matters, not distorted reflections from outside. And that truth is reached only by you through upright actions, rational thoughts, and choosing to stand firm instead of bending. Another time, I met an old friend in a cafe. We had not spoken in years, and I told her of a major decision leaving a secure position to pursue what I believed was right. She gave a slight smile, raised an eyebrow, and said, "Sounds reckless." That harmless remark kept me awake all night. I replayed her gaze as if she had declared me foolish, doomed to fail, a joke. But the next morning, I wrote in my journal, "She has the right to think me reckless, but I also have the right to live by what I believe holds value. And if I fail, at least I failed on my own path, not because someone else directed me elsewhere." Freedom does not come from making everyone look at you with admiration. It comes when you no longer need that look to keep walking. If you do what is right only when someone is watching, that is not virtue, but the hunger for praise. If you are kind only when supported, that is not conscience, but strategy. And if you are confident only when others smile, then you live on borrowed power, not inner strength. Live so that even if someone looks at you with doubt, you still know what you are doing, why you are doing it, and what you cannot compromise. For in the end, their gaze is fleeting. But the gaze you meet in the mirror each morning follows you for life. And that is what Stoic philosophy grants us: the power to look directly at ourselves without needing permission from anyone to do so. 3. True respect does not come from a nodding head. All of us, at some point in life, have said yes while our heart was shouting no. We nod, not because it is what we truly want, but because we fear judgment, fear disappointing others, fear breaking the harmony of the moment. What we fail to see is that each time we nod this way, we are not merely agreeing with others, we are quietly stripping weight from our own voice. You cannot expect others to take your words seriously when you are the first to make them light. When you always agree, always yield, always smooth the waters, you do not create respect. You create a habit that you will always give way, and people, even without malice, will act according to what they have grown used to. They will not stop to ask if you are comfortable. They will not wonder if you truly want this. They will assume you will nod as you always have. A yes not born of choice is in truth a disguised refusal of yourself. And if you do this too often, others will learn something. That your voice need not be heard seriously, for you never truly reveal what you think. Your agreement becomes expected, cheapened and stripped of weight or regard. An easy nod in this world does not make you more beloved, it only makes you easier to dismiss. No one respects the one who bends to every opinion, for respect is not born of pleasing others. It is born of clarity, of boundaries, and of the courage to stand alone when necessary. A person of dignity is not one who always opposes the world, but neither one who dissolves into the will of others. They know when to say yes and when to say no. They know that each nod must have value, and that value comes from choice, not avoidance. In a world drowned in noise, firmness in principle becomes a rare form of power. And the paradox is this: people only begin to truly notice you when you dare to stop nodding. You need not be rude, only clear. You need not shout, only steady. For dignity does not lie in compliance, but in how you hold to your voice, even if you are the only one to raise it. And that alone gives weight to every word you speak, however brief, because they come from someone who has learned not to trade themselves for approval. There is a quiet but piercing paradox. The more approachable you make yourself, the more easily you are dismissed. Not because you lack value, but because you fail to set boundaries that demand that value be respected. Like a precious object left carelessly in the marketplace, not overlooked for its worth, but for how it is displayed, suggesting it is nothing rare. People do not judge you by words alone. They watch how you hold your limits, how you respond when pushed beyond them, how you stay silent when no explanation is needed. Boundaries are not distance, they are the way you teach others how to treat you. One with clear boundaries is not one who always says no harshly, but one who knows what matters, what is enough, and what cannot be compromised. They need not assert these boundaries with anger or coldness. Sometimes it is the silence at the right moment that carries the power of a declaration without speech. You do not need to raise your voice to be heard. If you remain composed when others try to pull you from your values, your very presence carries weight. People will not dare to trample one who looks calm yet carries sharp clarity within. They will think twice before making unreasonable demands, for you cannot be swayed by flattery or false guilt. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think or do, only what you do. Peace does not come from controlling all around you, but from knowing clearly what you will do and what you will not accept." A boundary is a wordless resolve. I will not trade self-respect for another's convenience. And when you live by that, respect comes not in praise, but in restraint, caution, and quiet recognition from others. When you no longer feel the need to prove anything, you begin to radiate a silence no one dares dismiss. Your absence from a conversation where you are not respected is often the strongest voice. Withdrawal at the right moment is not escape, it is a deliberate act to preserve your worth. And when this becomes your way of life, you realize something both simple and powerful. The truly respected one is not the one who pleases all, but the one loyal to their own boundaries, even without applause. For dignity, once held firm, becomes its own unshakable declaration of who you are. And that is something no gaze can ever define. 4. Hold your no like a mountain. There are those who always agree. They nod at every invitation, accept every request, compromise in every conversation, not because they truly wish to, but because they fear being disliked. Fear of conflict, fear of being called difficult. Yet they are the very ones most often overlooked, given the tasks no one wants, drawn into commitments they cannot sustain because no one can tell when their yes is real and when it is only the mask of pleasantness. The hard truth is this: if you always agree, others will stop trusting your agreement. for a nod without certainty, without honesty, without thought sooner or later leads to broken promises, retreat, or failure. And others will come to see you as unreliable, not because you are malicious, but because you are unclear. The more you avoid refusal, the less dependable you become. For the trustworthy one is not always the one most available, but the one who knows when to step forward and when to step back. The trustworthy one knows their capacity, their limits, and respects their own time, energy, and principles. A clear refusal, though it may disappoint in the moment, creates lasting clarity. It shows others where dialogue is possible and where the line cannot be crossed. And above all, it shows you have a spine. Not everyone dares to say no, because no carries responsibility, a clear line between living for others and living true to yourself. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. If you truly want to grow, you must be willing to be misunderstood, even scorned for a while." A refusal may brand you cold, selfish, uncooperative, but if it reflects your true self, you need not apologize. You do not live to protect an image. You live to protect the core. Half-hearted agreement is a trap. It sounds kind, I just want peace, I don't want to upset them, but in time, it is you who feel betrayed. Not because others meant harm, but because you never gave them the chance to see you truthfully. And the truth is this: others will respect you more when you refuse clearly and calmly, without anger, without blame. A no needs no long excuse or guilty apology. If it comes from clarity and self-respect, it carries the weight of one living with purpose. You do not need to refuse everything to prove strength, but when you must refuse, do it as one who knows who they are, where they are going, and who will not lose direction for a fragile yes. Trust begins with truth. And often, truth lies in that one simple word you keep avoiding: no. Do not lose that power. For a no, spoken at the right time, with peace in your heart, can be the beginning of a life you truly command. And others will not only trust you more, they will begin to respect you. Because you dared to keep yourself intact, in a world where most sell themselves cheaply for a bit more approval. There are times you cannot explain why one refusal feels stronger than 100 agreements. It is when you stand in a room full of expectation, an eager glance, a request handed as though refusal is impossible, and you exhale slowly, steady, and say, "I cannot." Without excuses, without avoidance, without disguise. Just a no. Honest enough to halt another, and clear enough for you to feel your dignity uncrushed by guilt. That is not just an act, it is a milestone. A no, like the first stone laid in the foundation of self-respect. For self-respect is not a label or theory. It is each time you stand by yourself, even when it displeases, disappoints, or earns no applause. We often think self-respect is something grand, a big act, a public declaration, a loud voice. But it begins small. It lies in refusing an invitation you do not want, in saying no when someone exploits closeness to demand what is unfair, in holding silence when pressed to betray your principles. These quiet no's are the true shape of dignity. And only when you hold them do you truly see yourself unpainted, unbent. To keep your no is not to be stubborn. It is to remind yourself, I must not abandon myself just to be kept by others. Each time you swallow a no out of fear, you do not merely let another cross your boundary, you blur the inner line that was meant to protect you. And soon, you feel used, trampled, diminished. But the truth is, no one does this to you if you do not permit it from the start. Self-respect is invisible, yet real. It has structure, form, weight. It is shaped each time you say no without apology. For a no spoken with calm integrity is stronger than any explanation. It does not need sharpness or moral display or raised tone. It only needs to stand like a mountain that proves its reality by its very stillness. The self-respecting person is not one who never yields, but one who knows what can bend and what must not be touched. They need not always voice their boundaries, for those boundaries are felt in their eyes, their posture, the consistency between their words and actions. And that is why they do not need to shout for respect. Their calm no speaks for them. If you wish to build lasting respect not only from others, but first from yourself, you must learn never to compromise on what is core, even in the smallest matters. For the no you hold today is the quiet voice of one living true, and it will continue to grow through your steadfastness. 5. Dignity is a stance, not a performance. There are days when you step out with a forced smile, wear a mask of calm, and answer everything with a steady tone just to prove you are fine. People look at you and praise your strength, resilience, composure. But only you know it is not strength, but the stretched limit of a weary soul. You thought you were preserving dignity by hiding your weakness, but the truth is this: no one needs you to act strong. They only need you not to lose yourself while trying to please them. Dignity is not the hard shell you put on each day. It is not pretending you are unhurt, nor enduring nonsense just to prove you are above emotion. Dignity is when you can admit, I am in pain, but I will not betray my values for comfort. It is when you walk away from a conversation that demeans you. It is when you keep silent, not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough not to need victory in another's eyes. That is strength without performance. In a society where people are taught to endure well, to be tougher than their feelings, to never let anyone see their hurt, many mistake strength for pretending. They smile when they should leave. They agree when their heart wants to refuse. They remain in suffocating spaces not out of love, but out of fear of being seen as weak if they walk away. But Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. No one is truly free if forced to live behind a mask, even a mask of strength. A person of dignity does not need to play the role of the strong. They do not strain to prove anything. They only hold to what cannot be traded. Honesty with their feelings, clarity in their boundaries, and self-respect untouched by another's gaze. This is the one who rises after falling not to be praised as resilient, but because they know their worth is not in pity or admiration. It is in this: they do not abandon themselves, even if others abandon them. You do not need to excel in everything. You do not need to be on top of it all. You do not need to nod and smile at every turn. You only need not to bow when your silence is misunderstood. Not to reshape yourself to fit another's mold, and not to cling to a false version of yourself for fear of losing a little affection. For the price of living as others expect may be nothing less than your soul. Dignity is not built when admired. It is what you keep quietly when no one stands with you, when you face the moment of slipping from principle but choose not to. And that creates an unseen weight that makes others adjust how they treat you, even though you never ask them to. Some values, if they must be defended too often in words, may already be diminished. Dignity is one of them. It needs no recognition, no applause, no praise. It asks only one thing: that you do not betray it, especially in the moments no one is watching, no one is testing you, no one is forcing you to be true. Dignity is not in a declaration, not in a speech on self-respect, not in a post meant to prove your strength. It is in your silence when you could react, but choose not to. In the way you leave a space unworthy of you without long explanations. In the nod that refuses even the smallest compromise with what is wrong. And in the gaze you meet in the mirror without acting, without lying to yourself. Those who truly have dignity rarely speak of it. They do not preach their standards, for every action they choose already proves them. While the world cries, "Respect me," they never ask. Their presence itself carries an invisible line, not because they impose it, but because living true to their boundaries so long has turned it into an atmosphere no one can trespass. Seneca once reminded, "A great mind becomes a great fortune." A noble spirit does not need possessions to have value. Their character itself is wealth. And such wealth does not fade with time, nor bend to flattery, nor sell for recognition. It grows each time you keep a principle in silence, each time you make a hard choice without explanation, each time you choose not to speak to win but to preserve calm within. In an age of social media, where all are told to share, express, prove you are right, silence feels misplaced. Yet for this very reason, those who can keep silence are rare. They are not silent out of fear, but because they know what deserves a voice and what should remain as a vow to themselves. You need not answer every comment, react to every insult, or correct every misunderstanding. For sometimes, the peace you preserve is more precious than being justified. And sometimes, one refusal to react is enough to show others your boundary cannot be crossed, no matter how far they test it. Dignity is not perfection. It is not always being right, strong, or beloved. Dignity is never lowering yourself even once for something outside you, and when you keep it without proving, without display, it becomes a presence that makes others cautious before crossing you and allows you to stand firm without anyone's support. 6. True boundaries do not need to be shouted. There are those whose boundaries need no words, because their very presence makes others step carefully. Not because they raise their voice, not because they threaten or flaunt power, but because the way they live consistent, awake, principled, is already a silent reminder. This is not ground easily trespassed. You feel it in their eyes, in how they do not force a smile when disrespected, in how they do not excuse another's contempt, and most of all, in how they leave without warning when there is no reason to stay. Boundaries of presence do not come from slogans or declarations, but from the steady repetition of an inner principle. I do not need to be liked if it costs me myself. Such people often speak little, but whenever they do, others listen. They do not command conversations by volume, but by substance and an unshaken calm. No warnings, no threats, yet you know clearly where the line is. The principled do not seek to please, for what they need is not fleeting approval, but lasting respect. They know that no bond can endure if built on endless nods, endless compliance, or fear of discomforting others. They do not fear saying no, nor do they trade truth for temporary safety. They are not easygoing in the sense of whatever you want, for they do not care to be good in everyone's eyes. They ask only one thing: to live true to themselves, even if it leaves them lonelier, but freer. Perhaps you have met such a person. They enter a room, and without effort, the space adjusts to them. Not because they are boss, nor because they are flashy, but because they carry the aura of one not easily swayed, not easily manipulated, not easily drawn into noise or pretense. They need not be friends with all, because they do not fear being alone. And for that very reason, their connections are clear. If they remain, it is a conscious choice, not reluctant courtesy. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." The principled do not waste time preaching their values. They work in silence, withdraw in silence, hold to what is right in silence, and that silence, over time, communicates more powerfully than words. Your presence will speak when words are unnecessary. And the way you live, how you refuse what is unfit, how you react to small things, how you honor yourself in detail shapes the space around you. In that space, those who stay must adjust. Those who approach must tread with care. And those who crossed your line will remember there is no second chance with you. There is a quiet power often overlooked. When you do not need to explain, argue, or defend yourself, yet others still know exactly where not to step. This boundary is not written in words, but carved into your living through eyes unshaken, calm, unguarded, and the act of leaving without warning. When you need not speak much, yet others adjust, you have touched a dignity no performance can buy. Many think boundaries must be loud, declared, or written as rules. But those with inner strength know. What is truly firm needs no shouting. You do not need to proclaim your worth. Your steady refusal of disrespect already says it. Others will not keep joking if you do not laugh at contempt. They will not insult if you meet them with silence and departure. They will learn that without respect, they lose entry to your world quietly, but permanently. When you do not react by impulse, do not demand defense, do not over-explain, you remove the control others might hold. They have no choice but to be more careful, more decent, and if they wish your presence, they must adjust not because you forced them, but because you made it the condition of staying. Strength does not lie in how loud you shout, but in how little you need to yet still be heard. And what earns respect is not clever argument, but calm unreadability, where your emotions cannot be ruled by another's carelessness. People adjust not from your pressure, but from the atmosphere you create where only the respectful can remain. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. The finest response is to be different from the one who wronged you. And that difference is not in words, but in presence. An aura that needs no display, yet makes others weigh their actions carefully. You do not threaten, yet they hesitate. You do not condemn, yet they feel guilty. And it comes not from lecturing, but from showing up as a mirror, not reflecting their ego, but revealing what they try to hide. Once you no longer strain to protect yourself with words, you free yourself from the role of victim and force others out of the role of aggressor. Every disrespectful act is not met with argument, but with silence that carries the message. I will not remain where there is no decency. And nothing unsettles more than this, for no one can control the one who has learned to keep silence, not out of fear, but out of strength that no longer needs to defeat anyone. 7. The price of silence is the loss of yourself. Piece by piece, there are wounds that do not show on the skin, yet still bleed quietly. They come from the mocking glance, the dismissive word, the sarcastic laugh brushed off as if unintentional wounds you chose to ignore. Not because you were weak, but because you hoped one silence would preserve peace, one endurance would save something. What you did not see was this. Each silence carved a deeper chair for others to sit upon ground that once belonged to you. People do not learn from words, they learn from reactions. When you endure without speaking, they do not think you are kind. They think you dare not resist. From then, they adjust their behavior to a new pattern where you are the one who accepts, with no limits, no boundaries, no demand for basic respect. The danger is not that someone hurts you once, but that they do it again and again without seeing it as wrong. They cross the line with a joke, you laugh it off. They dismiss your opinion in a meeting, you stay silent. They invade your personal space with ambiguous gestures. You tell yourself it's not worth it. But that not worth it accumulates into a pattern where your dignity erodes, not from cruelty, but from kindness left unguarded. Marcus Aurelius once reminded, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Yet if you do not guard the boundaries of your own mind, others will come to reshape it to their advantage. One who is indulged will not stop on their own. A behavior unchecked becomes habit, and a habit tolerated becomes a right. They believe they have the right to dismiss you, to speak carelessly, to touch your sanctity without asking. No one wakes up one morning and decides, "I will disrespect you," but they will do it gradually if you do not stop them. When you always clear the way for comfort, you erase yourself from the map of value in their eyes. And one day, when you finally speak, they will stare in confusion, even anger, for in their mind, you never showed that you deserved a boundary. Respect does not come from unconditional agreement. It comes from daring to show what is unacceptable, even if it displeases. The mature do not seek to be liked by all, but they understand that if self-respect must be sold for comfort, the price is too high. And the paradox is this: when you begin to speak, when you redraw boundaries, when you refuse what was once tolerated, you do not lose connection. You only lose the ties that never respected you. The rest, the thoughtful, the respectful, the listening will adjust. They will relearn how to treat you, this time knowing that you are no longer easily wounded without consequence. For silent endurance does not make the world better. It only makes you vanish from your own life. And that absence, whether from the eyes of others or from your own trust in yourself, is a cost you never need to pay, if you learn to stand at the right time. Not all wounds come from others. Some cracks begin within from the times you turned away from the truth you should have faced. Not because you did not see the injustice, not because you did not feel the hurt, but because you had grown used to ignoring your own feelings. You told yourself, "It's fine, I'm strong." But strength is not found in pretense. It is found in standing with yourself when it matters. Each time you fail to defend yourself, you send a silent signal to your mind. "I am not important enough." And the mind hears it clearly. It begins to doubt your worth. It begins to distrust your voice. And then, when the moment comes to decide, to set a boundary, to say no to the wrong, you hesitate. Not because you do not know what is right, but because you no longer believe you have the right to act on it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." But if day after day you let your mind soak in the color of silence, of compromise with what is false, of choosing others' comfort over honesty with yourself, then your soul will fade from its own true shade. Confidence is not born, it is built. Like muscles strengthened through repetition, faith in yourself grows through action. Each time you speak, even softly, to defend yourself, you send a clear message within: "I am worth protecting." And from that, dignity rises slowly, steadily, solid as stone. But when you stay silent, especially when you know it hurts you, you remove a brick from the foundation of confidence. At first, you think, "Only this once." But once becomes habit. Habit becomes character. And one day you no longer believe you can speak your truth. That is no longer humility, that is self-abandonment. The Stoics never taught us to shout to be heard. They taught us to stand upright in silence, but not in collusion. To guard calm, but not abandon truth. To act with reason, even when feeling urges you to swallow it down. So, each time you are tempted to stay silent again, ask yourself, if you were your own best friend, would you allow someone else to treat you this way? And if not, why do you allow it? Simply because it happens inside your own mind. Remember, silence is never neutral. It is either a choice of strength or a sign of surrender. Choosing silence at the right time is wisdom. But choosing silence every time your heart cries out, that is losing yourself, piece by piece. 8. Do you want to be liked or to live true? There is an invisible but common trap, the hunger to be liked. It is not loud, not obvious, but seeps into the smallest choices, from how you smile, how you speak, even whether you dare to say no. And before you realize it, you are no longer living by what you believe, but by what others expect. You step into a room, and instead of asking yourself, what truth do I want to embody? You ask, will they like me? You hold back your thoughts for fear they displease the majority. You avoid hard decisions for fear of rejection, and slowly you become a role always agreeable, always smiling, always pleasant, while inside, resentment grows. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." This is a warning. You could spend your life chasing others' approval, only to lose the person you truly are. For when you live to be accepted, you are willing to cut and shape yourself to fit their expectations. You soften your voice, blur your stance, stay silent when you should speak, just to avoid being seen as difficult or different. The danger is not that others fail to understand you. It is that you stop understanding yourself. You no longer know what you truly believe versus what you repeat because it once won applause. Each time you speak against your own heart, you chip away at integrity. And in time, the approval you worked so hard for will belong to a false image of you, not your real self. When you live to be liked, you live on a stage that never ends. You must always perform, always be in place, always avoid conflict. But humans were not born to please all. And dignity is never built from cheap consensus. Dignity begins when you can stand steady in another's disapproval, yet remain firm in what you know is right. Approval is something you can never control. Today they like you because you listened. Tomorrow they dislike you because you did not obey. The more you rely on their gaze to measure your worth, the more fragile you become when that gaze turns away. That is a brittle life, a life you will never master. You do not need to make everyone like you. You only need to live true, live with principle, live without betraying yourself. That may cost you some relationships, but what remains will be real. And what is real, that is the foundation of freedom. There is a simple truth often ignored. No one's feelings remain the same forever. Today they love you for helping. Tomorrow they resent you for refusing. Their feelings shift with circumstance, with expectation, even with their own moods. And if you build your life on that shifting ground, you build a house on water. You may do everything right. Speak kindly, act gently, avoid offense. But eventually, one act, though right, necessary, or honest, will displease. And you will see that what you thought was genuine affection was only a fragile structure held up by expectation and compliance. Epictetus once reminded, "If you want to improve, Be content to be thought foolish and stupid. If you truly want to live right, you must accept that at times you will not be understood, not be liked, even be looked down upon. But that does not lessen you. It proves you are living by your own standard, not borrowing the gaze of others to exist. When you grasp this, you no longer cling to the fickle changes of human hearts. You no longer reshape yourself endlessly to please. You no longer despair when someone no longer favors you. For you know, approval comes and goes with convenience, but truth does not waver. And when you stand with truth, you may lose fleeting applause, but you gain something lasting, respect beginning with yourself. Let others change their feelings. Let them dislike you if what you do is right. For what makes a person trustworthy is not how much they are liked, but what they hold firm to even when it is not praised. A free soul needs no audience, no applause, only the stillness within, born of knowing they live true. You will see, some dislike you simply because you are not easy to control. Some dislike you because you dare speak what they wish unheard. But that does not make you wrong. At times it proves you are walking a right path, though lonely, though without applause. Approval is easily given and just as easily withdrawn. But truth, if you are brave enough to live it, stands firm against every wind. And in the end, it is truth that gives you ground to exist not as one who is liked, but as one who is respected. 9. Not every success is worth the price. There are successes that do not echo with applause, but with the quiet whisper of fatigue in your heart each night before sleep. Such achievements look radiant from the outside, but within lies the silence of someone who has strayed too far from themselves to gain them. Not because you were not good enough, but because you tried to become the version others desired instead of living as yourself. You worked late not out of passion, but out of fear of being left behind. You kept a smile on your face while your heart was breaking, afraid honesty would cost you your place. You followed orders though deep inside you knew they were wrong, fearing you might miss a chance. Bit by bit, you sacrificed your identity for what is called success, though in truth, it was only a distorted image of your true longing. Success ceased to be a journey of growth and became a race of pressure, where people trample their inner limits to be recognized. But Marcus Aurelius once reminded, if you seek approval from those without self-mastery, you make yourself a slave to their gaze. Have you ever asked yourself, what is success, if to achieve it you must pretend for a lifetime? The greatest danger of chasing a definition of success without questioning it is that you do not know what you are losing along the way. You may gain status, wealth, praise, but one day, in a rare moment of stillness, you look into the mirror and fail to recognize the person before you. When you sell your peace, suppress your conscience, and trade your dignity no matter your position you have lost against yourself. Success should never force you away from what you believe. It is not worth bending your morals or tearing down the boundaries once built from self-respect. When you are made to smile at what is wrong, when you accept calculating relationships because they are useful, you are not growing, you are withering, piece by piece. And no one sees it, except you. We live in a society that teaches strength is going farther than others, but few ask, farther for what and how far is enough? True success must give you room to breathe, not force you to breathe under strain. It should make you stand firm in your values, not reshape them to fit the environment. Be careful what you pursue, for not everything that glitters is gold. There are successes polished by lights and praise, but beneath lies a fractured soul, a life that lost its direction. And there are quiet, simple successes that let you hold your head high each night. That is what is worth keeping. Not every ladder leads upward. Some steps only take you farther from yourself. And when you realize this, you have the right to stop. For perseverance is not always wisdom. Sometimes the greatest courage is to let go of a success that no longer fits to keep a self you can still respect. There is a kind of success that needs no stage, no applause, no admiring gaze. It is the success you carry even when the last door closes, the lights go dark, and you sit alone in silence. That success does not live in the eyes of others, but in the fullness you feel within. Society tells us you must achieve to be recognized, be mentioned, impress, be seen, be known. Yet in time, all of this fades. People will forget what you once displayed, but you must still live with yourself, with the choices only you truly understand. True success is not measured in likes, appearances, or titles on a wall. It is measured in the peace of looking back at your life without shame. It is when you need no explanation because you know what you lived for, what you refused, and what you kept. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Choose what is right and let others talk as they will, for when you live by reason, no words can harm you." Those who truly grasp the meaning of success never need to prove it loudly. They do not seek places to boast, but places to live rightly. They do not need an audience, because their fulfillment is not born of outward gaze. You may never be invited to speak on a great stage, never be handed a medal, never have your picture hung on a wall of honor. But if each day you wake without regret, if you can stand firm without applause, if you do the right thing unseen, you have succeeded in the deepest and most lasting way. True success is like a key kept in your pocket. You need not display it, but you know it is there. It is the freedom of choosing without being bound by praise or blame, the strength of never bending to expectation. It is the kind of success that lets you walk through a crowd turning its back while keeping your head high. Once someone asked Epictetus, "What should I do if others do not acknowledge that I live rightly?" He answered, "Live rightly for yourself, not for their applause." In an age where values are easily traded for visibility, holding peace when unseen is a rare triumph. You do not need to announce that you live with integrity. You only need to live it. You do not need to declare you will not sell your principles. You only need to keep them. And when you do, you will find success appearing in a different form, quiet but weighty. One day, when you are no longer young, no longer strong, no longer at the center, true success will remain in your heart untouched by time, unshaken by applause or abandonment. It is what you can carry even when all that remains is silence. 10. Do not mistake comfort for peace. There is a truth few wish to admit. Most of what we call peace is only temporary comfort. An evening curled under a warm blanket, a rich meal, a few sweet compliments, a fleeting promise all make us feel good, but only for a moment. Then the winds of life return, and we are anxious again, shaken again, empty again. Comfort does not build a foundation. It only lays a soft cover over the weakness within. Comfort is when you avoid challenge, choose the path of least resistance, and say fine just to keep harmony. For a moment, you feel relief for dodging conflict. But that relief is a sleeping pill, tricking you into thinking you are at peace, when in truth, you are losing strength. For each time you do not learn to face injustice, you do not train firmness, you do not test your inner core, and slowly you become fragile. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Real strength does not come from a smooth life, but from a mind steady even as life shakes. Outer comfort makes us forget this. We begin to believe peace requires control of circumstances, clearing obstacles, pleasing all, but that is not peace, it is dependence. And anything dependent on externals can be taken in an instant. Comfort, if indulged too long, teaches avoidance instead of confrontation, concession instead of resolve, self-deception instead of honesty. You feel safe, but in truth, you are locked in a gilded cage. It shines, it soothes, but when storms come, you will see those bars do not protect you, they only kept you from growing wings to fly. Epictetus stressed, "Difficulties show a man to himself. Hardship reveals your true self. If you always choose comfort, you will never see the stronger version you could have become. You will only see a fragile shadow, dependent on ease to survive. And the price of such comfort is weakness growing within." Comfort is not the enemy, but it becomes danger when you mistake it for peace. True peace does not come from avoiding storms, but from learning to steer even in them. It does not come from more conveniences, but from knowing you can stand when they are gone. If you only chase comfort, you miss the chance to build the one strength no one can take, inner strength. So be careful with the easy moments you call peace. Ask yourself, does this make me stronger, or does it lull me into weakness? For comfort passes quickly, but true peace stands with you even on the darkest days. There is a paradox many never see. They spend life filling themselves with externals, thinking it will bring peace. But the fuller they become, the more restless they feel. A bigger house, more possessions, admired relationships, yet inside, the same emptiness lingers. Because peace is never born from accumulation, it is the fruit of a mind that has learned mastery. You see this in those who have lost all. With no wealth, no power, no admiration, they still stand because they know how to rule their thoughts and emotions. Meanwhile, those who have it all, career, fame, possessions, collapse from a single insult, a minor failure, an unforeseen change. What they lacked was not comfort, but inner stability. Seneca once wrote, "The richest is the one content with the least." He did not praise lack, but warned, if you place peace in what can be lost, you will lose peace. Only when you stand without depending on comfort are you free. And that freedom is the root of peace. True peace does not come from a quiet room, but a quiet mind. Not from gentle treatment, but from not letting rudeness disturb you. Not from a life without trials, but from facing trials calmly. Marcus Aurelius reminded, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." When you see that all externals, wealth, fame, even those you love can vanish at any moment, then you understand where the only peace lies, in how you face each present moment. A soul disciplined and clear will not shake, even if the world outside collapses. Picture this. You walk into a room with no comfort, no applause, no one caring for you. If in that room you can sit, breathe, and still feel whole, that is peace. For then, you are no longer borrowing value from outside, but giving it to yourself. Peace cannot be borrowed from comfort, nor bought with achievements. It comes only when you train yourself to look within, examine thoughts, refine judgments, and master your responses. Then, no matter how the world shifts, you keep a light inside untouched. And that is the difference between one who lives for comfort and one who lives for peace. The seeker of comfort is easily pleased, but easily broken. The seeker of peace may endure hardship, but never loses themselves. True peace needs no witness, no approval. It only needs a soul that has learned to stand tall without any support from outside. 11. Self-betrayal is not always loud. The greatest betrayal of the self rarely happens in one dramatic moment. It usually begins with very small, very quiet choices that seem harmless. When you nod yes while your heart says no. When you force a smile to cover hurt. When you yield just to avoid making anyone uncomfortable. In such moments, you plant the first seeds of self-betrayal, and the danger is this. Those seeds do not show themselves immediately, but grow silently until one day you no longer recognize yourself. Each small compromise is like a crack in the foundation. It does not bring the house down at once, but over time the cracks spread and weaken the whole structure. You may think, just this once will do no harm, but each time you take away a part of your own trust. And one day, when you need strength to stand, you will find you have hollowed your spirit with those quiet concessions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The soul is colored by what it repeats. If you continually act against yourself, silence instead of truth, nodding instead of refusing, staying when you should leave, your soul will take on the color of betrayal. Not betrayal of others, but betrayal of the very essence you once promised to keep. You may think these small concessions are kindness, but look deeper. Are they truly kindness, or merely buying others comfort at the cost of your own unease? The smallest compromise with your truth is still a step away from yourself. And when enough steps are taken, the road leads to a place where you no longer know who you are. What makes these concessions dangerous is their silence. No one else notices. No one warns you. Only a faint voice within, weaker each time, smaller each time. And when that voice is gone, you are left without a compass. You continue to walk, to work, to be liked, but deep inside you know you have lost something that cannot be regained: integrity. Epictetus once stressed, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. First decide who you want to be, then live accordingly." But if you let concessions pull you away from that image, you live your life as an actor. And the tragedy of acting is this: no matter how loud the applause, you know you have not truly lived. Self-betrayal is not loud, not dramatic, no thunder or lightning. It is only small moments, when you choose the easy over the right. And precisely because it is so quiet, it is so dangerous. For one day, when you need the faith to stand tall, you will discover you have been eroding it for years. The greatest danger in life is not that others betray you, but that you quietly betray yourself. And it does not happen in noise, but in the silence of moments when you know the truth, yet turn away. You know you disagree, yet nod. You know you are disrespected, yet pretend it is fine. You know something is wrong, yet stay silent to avoid waves. Each time you betray not only truth, but the very foundation of dignity, the one thing that lets you stand in life. Dignity is not a coat you wear for others to see. It is the structure within, the frame that shapes you. When you abandon your inner truth, you are like one who removes bricks from their own foundation to build another's temporary shelter. Outwardly, you may please, preserve ties, even earn praise, but inwardly, each missing brick leaves you hollow. And when the foundation is hollow, all built upon it is fragile. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Simple words, but the clearest measure of integrity. When you do what you know is wrong, when you speak what you know is false, you cut away part of your dignity. And the danger is you may grow used to it, so used that you no longer see it as a problem, so used that betrayal of yourself feels like wisdom. But that wisdom is only compromise dressed as survival, while you know it is eating away your core. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You cannot be free without self-mastery. And mastery is not only over emotion, but the courage to stand by inner truth, even at cost. Each silence, for the sake of harmony, may buy comfort for a moment, but it sells away freedom for the long term. From that point, you live by another's script, no longer by your own compass. Some believe silence keeps peace, pretending avoids trouble. Compromise ensures safety, that this is skill. But such skill works only outwardly. Inwardly, you know you betrayed truth. And nothing is more painful than losing faith in yourself. You can endure others' criticism, but how do you endure your own conscience's contempt? Self-betrayal makes no noise. It only drains your strength, your confidence, your ability to stand tall when alone. And when life truly tests you, you find you weakened yourself long before, simply because you did not dare to live true. Dignity is never taken by others. It vanishes only when you dismantle it piece by piece through quiet betrayal of the soul. And the tragedy is this: when you realize it is gone, no apology can restore it. Thus, if there is one thing you must never betray, it is the truth your heart whispers. Hold to it, and you will hold to yourself. 12. Not to be agreeable, but not to be easily lost. There is an illusion many carry from childhood, that if you are obedient, agreeable, pleasing, you will always be loved. And yes, in the short term, it works. When you nod, you avoid conflict. When you smile, you seem approachable. When you yield, the group feels at ease. But this agreeableness is not free. Its cost is high. The cost is you, fading day by day into others' wishes. Each time you nod against your will, you lay the first brick in the wall between your true self and the image others see. Each time you smile to hide discomfort, you trade honesty for false harmony. Each silence where you should speak seeds more inner ground for others to step upon. Slowly, you become a mask of friendliness, while your essence is pushed to the corner, smaller, weaker. Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." What is frightening is not death, but never living as yourself. And the irony is, the more agreeable you are, the greater the danger you never truly lived. For you live in the role of compliance, in the gaze of approval, in the shell of safety, while inside is the question, who am I really? The agreeable are liked, but rarely respected. For others, sense they lack boundaries, that they nod when unwilling, that they stay silent when belittled. And this opens the door for intrusion, for people grow used to your yielding until one day your kindness is no longer seen as virtue, but as entitlement to exploit. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. If you want to grow, accept being seen as difficult." For sometimes, refusing to be agreeable, daring to say no, daring to keep boundaries will displease others, even earn you labels of stubborn or hard. But this is worth far more than dissolving into compliance. Their approval lasts only while you play their part. But respect from others and from yourself comes only when you live true. The cost of constant agreeableness is this: You may be liked by all, yet lose what matters most, the ability to love yourself. And when you no longer believe you are worth defending, you walk through life like a shadow present, but never truly there. Thus, the question is not whether you are liked, but whether you remain whole in that liking. For affection built on a role will vanish when the role ends. But the true self, if you dare keep it, is what allows you to stand, even when none remain. Living to be agreeable is convenient, but that convenience buys only short comfort, never lasting respect. People may smile at you, call you sweet, pleasant, easy. But behind it, they know you lack clear boundaries. And one without boundaries is easily used, easily dismissed, easily overshadowed. To not be easily lost is not to oppose all, but to hold your ground even when it makes others uncomfortable. Boundaries need not be shouted, nor written as rules. They are the quiet firmness in how you live. They show when you refuse, when you walk away, when your silence is itself a declaration stronger than words. They tell others you cannot be dragged into wrong, cannot be bought by disrespect, cannot betray yourself for consent. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is the essence of boundaries: firmness with what is false, loyalty to truth, whether or not others like it. And yes, it will discomfort some. They will call you difficult, hard, even defiant. But this discomfort is only the reaction of those long accustomed to your compliance, to your habit of setting aside your feelings for their ease. To not be easily lost is to accept those looks, those complaints, for the sake of wholeness. It is when you say no without apology, when you leave a toxic conversation without regret, when you choose silence rather than join pretense. And the paradox is this: such firmness, in time, wins more respect than rejection. For they know you cannot be controlled, and that creates a gravity no agreeableness can match. Epictetus stressed, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Freedom is not in pleasing all, but in ignoring what is not yours to bear. Keeping boundaries is reclaiming freedom for the soul. You are no longer tied by praise or blame, no longer shaped by false expectation, no longer selling truth for surface harmony. And once you live with clear boundaries, you see this: those truly meant to stay will respect them. Those who only sought your compliance will drift away. Their leaving is not loss, but cleansing. For in the end, what matters is not how many like you, but whether you can look in the mirror and know you did not lose yourself to keep them. To not be easily lost is not a declaration, but a choice repeated daily. To hold truth when compliance is easier. To refuse when agreement is safer, to stand upright when bowing would please. Each choice may cost frowns and whispers, but what you keep is greater. An intact self, dignity unbroken, and a freedom no agreeableness can buy. 13. The mirror never lies. The mirror never knows how to lie. It may reflect the hair you have combed, the skin you have covered with powder, the clothes you chose to impress. But there is one thing it cannot be fooled by: the eyes. In them you see honesty or betrayal. You see pride or regret. You see whether you have lived true or played a role to please others. Each morning as you prepare to step out, the mirror asks a silent question. Yesterday, were you faithful to yourself? And each night when you return, it repeats the same. Today, did you hold your boundaries, live true? Dare to speak what needed saying. Refuse what was unworthy. These questions make no sound, but your eyes in the mirror always answer. You may deceive others. You may make colleagues believe you are strong, make friends believe you are kind, make family believe you are fine. But you cannot deceive yourself. When you look deeply, you know the times you compromised, the times you stayed silent, the times you chose comfort over truth. They do not appear as scars, but as emptiness in your eyes, the emptiness of one who has drifted from themselves. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The soul takes the color of what it repeats, and the eyes are the mirror of that soul. Live with honesty, and your gaze is bright and steady. Betray yourself, and your gaze dims, avoids, cannot look straight. That is why some enter a room without words, and you feel either their strength or their hollowness, for their eyes have already spoken." What makes the mirror the fairest judge is its indifference to excuses. You can tell yourself you had no choice, that you did it for peace, that you nodded to protect opportunity. But when you face the mirror, you know if you told truth or lied to yourself. And the true danger is not lies to others, but when you start believing the lies you tell yourself. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom does not come from pleasing others, but from controlling yourself and staying true. The mirror reminds you daily. It does not care how many praises, admirers, or successes you have. It only cares about this. When all is gone, can you meet your own eyes without shame? And here lies life's paradox. You may build an image for others at great cost, yet one glance in the mirror can shatter it if you know you betrayed yourself. No medal, no applause, no admiration can repay that loss. For if you cannot trust yourself, who else can you trust? The mirror never lies. It gives back not your face, but truth. And that truth is the measure of dignity. You can blur things with external lights, but never the truth in your own gaze. The mirror is a silent teacher. It does not lecture, scold, or explain. It only reflects. Yet in that reflection lies a lesson the world often lacks courage to tell you. Are you living by what you believe or acting to please others? You can evade the eyes of others, hide behind words, persuade with deeds, but before the mirror, you cannot hide. It shows your real face, real eyes, real presence, all proof of whether you preserved dignity or traded it away. What you refuse to face within appears in the mirror's silence, without need of judgment. Marcus Aurelius wrote again, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your soul is colored by what you choose to think and live. And the mirror shows that color, not the polish of success, not the glow of admiration, but the eyes that look back at you. If the color is honesty, they are clear. If betrayal, they are lost, and you know it, even if no one else does. Epictetus also said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." The mirror forces this question each day. Have you lived true to the image you once promised yourself? And if the answer is no, no title, no recognition can cover the emptiness you see there. What makes the mirror a stern teacher is its refusal of excuses. It is not persuaded by, "I had no choice," nor fooled by, "I did it for peace." It only reflects what you chose. And that truth alone decides your dignity. Dignity is not given by others. It does not come from admirers or achievements. It exists only when you can face the mirror without shame. That is why some, though at the peak of fame, feel hollow, for they know inside they betrayed themselves too many times. While others, unknown and without glory, walk calmly because they have never needed to hide from themselves. The mirror is silent, but the strictest teacher. It does not judge in words, but forces you to face what you have done, the choices you made, the truths you cannot deny. And if you are brave enough to learn from it, you will know. Dignity is not what others see, but what you see when none remain. 14. Perseverance is not loud strength, but the refusal to collapse. We often mistake strength for noise. The one who shouts, who postures as unbreakable, who always proves they fear nothing, we assume they are strong. But look closer. Those who must display strength are often the weakest. They use volume to cover trembling, power to mask fragility. True strength never needs noise. It is quiet, steady, gathered in silence, revealed only when hardship demands it shine. Perseverance is not breaking before trials, not losing yourself before rejection, not bending before criticism. It needs no audience, no record, for its nature is not performance but survival. You may walk silently through storms, without complaint, without cry, and that silence itself speaks louder than words of your strength. Others may not know, but you know, and that is what matters. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Strength is not in mastering the world, but in keeping your mind steady against it. The persevering one is not without failure, but refuses to let failure decide their life. They do not declare themselves fine, nor shout they are strong. They simply walk on, and that walk is strength itself. If showy strength is a fire that blazes and dies, perseverance is the ember that glows all night. A person may stir crowds with fiery words, but can they stay steady when alone in a dark room? One may defy publicly, but can they face solitude, loss, and pain without audience? True strength is measured in those quiet moments when no crowd, no applause, only you and yourself remain. Epictetus said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." People fall not from the size of adversity, but from surrendering in mind before facing it. The boastful may shout to drown fear, but the persevering need no shout. They look at fear, accept it, and move forward. That is why they are never truly defeated. Noisy strength draws eyes but breaks easily. Silent perseverance draws little attention but carries you across years. When you learn to endure quietly, when you accept pain without letting it destroy you, when you continue without applause, you touch the strength no adversity can remove. And one day, looking back, you will see it was perseverance that saved you, not noise. Strength that none gave and none can take. It needs no proof, no ornament, for its very presence proves itself. You still stand, unbroken. There are those who move through ordinary days with calm, without complaint, without display, yet inside bear storms no one else knows. They still work, still smile, still care while carrying loss, pressure, wounds. That is true perseverance, the refusal to collapse, even under invisible weight. This perseverance is not numbness nor cold hardness. It is choice. The choice to stand when hundreds of reasons urge you to fall. The choice to walk when the path is dim. The choice to keep dignity when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius reminded, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Pain is not in the event, but in judgment. Persevering souls master that judgment and cannot be broken. What makes perseverance admirable is its lack of need for recognition. Outsiders may think them lucky, untouched by trials. Yet many carry burdens that would have crushed others long ago. Perseverance does not seek spotlight. It lives in darkness, in sleepless nights, in unseen tears, in hard choices no one knows. Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. We cannot control loss, betrayal, sudden blows, but we can control one thing, not collapsing. They allow themselves pain, but not ruin. They allow weakness for a moment, but not as their definition. Silent perseverance is rare today, for it makes no noise, seeks no pity, turns suffering into no performance. It is simply steadfastness, choosing to live true, even if unknown. And its silence makes it pure, untainted, unadorned. In the end, perseverance is not never falling, but never staying down. Each fall is followed by rising not to prove to others, but to keep faith with oneself. Never let life define you by adversity. That is the highest strength, not needing applause, not needing witness, but echoing daily, with each step within the heart. 15. Mastery. When you no longer need to appear strong, because you already are. There is a kind of strength that needs no proof, no display, no raised voice to be heard. It is strength that has become essence. When you reach that state, you no longer need to appear anything, for every gesture, every glance, every choice quietly radiates steadiness. This is mastery, self-command, so complete that it requires no proof, for truth is present in every breath. Those not yet strong always seek to show it, for they fear being doubted. Those truly strong need no argument to win, for their calm is already a declaration. Those who have not mastered themselves try to look composed. Those who have simply are serene even in chaos. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. The noblest answer is not noise, but to live by higher standards." That is silent strength, untouchable. Mastery does not come overnight. It is forged each time you choose silence over anger, honesty over easy deceit, boundaries over safe compromise. Each choice is a brick in your inner fortress. At first, it takes effort, but slowly, the right becomes reflex. You no longer strain, hide, or perform. You become what you once struggled to reach. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." Mastery is the fruit of persistence, and when you arrive, you stop seeking recognition. Others feel your strength without explanation. It is a quiet magnetism, not loud but irresistible, for it comes not from appearance but from essence. And then you realize, you need not appear strong, for you already are. You need not argue to prove, for your silence has weight. You need not demonstrate value, for it is self-evident in how you live. That is the destination of the Stoic path, where strength is no longer a goal, but the very substance of your being. I once thought strength meant proving myself, that to earn respect I had to always appear unbroken. But over time, I learned the truth was the opposite. The more I tried to look strong, the more fragile I felt, for I was living in others' eyes instead of in honesty with myself. Only when I accepted weakness, faced the cracks, and stopped hiding them, did another strength rise, a strength that needed no noise, no proof, only stillness that could not be shaken. My view is this: None of us need to chase recognition to become better. We only need to keep faith with ourselves in the smallest choices. If we do, then even if the world looks away, in the mirror, we will see someone worthy of respect. And I believe that is life's final destination, not to be liked by all, but never to betray ourselves. If you found value in these reflections, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next content. What matters is not how fast we go, but how steadily we walk. And perhaps the greatest gift of life is this: to live calmly in the storm and to keep the soul whole. See you in the next video.